Just to remind you, like I said earlier, that both the parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, yes, there are some differences, but in a lot of ways they are the same. And it's mainly that they have no principles. This is an article from ProPublica coming from the Texas Tribune Partnership. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, back in my home state of Texas, long a defender of states' rights, embraces Trump's push to expand presidential power. Defending Texas sovereignty has been central to Abbott's political identity, yet he has helped Trump erode states' authority over elections, policing, and deploying of the National Guard. And this is something that I've talked about for a while as well, that I just don't understand how those who claim to be Republicans, conservatives, I mean, it's just a matter of not having principles. I already know the answer, but these people claim to be conservatives, small government, limited government, constitutionalists. And when it comes to their side violating those things, they don't care. It's just like, well, we got to do what we got to do. Or the other side did it first, so we're going to do it better. And it's just a race to the bottom, race to tyranny. But as this article outlines here, just last year, Texas Governor Greg Abbott joined a bipartisan chorus of governors in denouncing Biden administration plan that said they would strip states of powers guaranteed them under federal law. The plan would have transferred Air National Guard units from 6 states to the U.S. Space Force, the newly created military branch, stoking concerns about federal overreach and the erosion of governors' controls over their own National Guard forces. Even though Texas wasn't affected by this, Abbott made his opposition unmistakable in an open letter to the president, where he called the plan an intolerable threat that would set a dangerous precedent. And he said, I strongly oppose any attempt to sideline governors when it comes to their respective National Guards. However, 1 year later, he helped Trump do that same thing. He said that he fully authorized the president's plan to send Texas National Guard members to Illinois and to Oregon to protect federal law enforcement personnel who are executing immigration laws. Those states' governors vigorously objected, saying that such an action was an unnecessary escalation that interfered with their own state's sovereignty. So 1 year, Abbott's complaining about some moves that Biden was going to do. And of course, because it was Biden, taking National Guard members and making them part of the Space Force. He's like, no, don't do that. It's violating my sovereignty as a governor. Then this year, Trump says he wants to send military National Guard into Illinois and Oregon. And since those Democrat governors are not friendly to those policies, Trump says, well, we're going to take some National Guard members from Republican states, including Texas. And Abbott's like, here, take them all, whatever you need to do. I don't care about what those other state governors want. You can take my National Guard and send them over there. Abbott defended the deployment on Fox News. The president, he said, has the authority to mobilize Guard members to preserve public safety. President Trump and I have good, longstanding working relationship, and there's a substantive reason behind that. He said that him and the president were, quote, operating very closely aligned on ensuring that our country is going to be safe. He's the leader of the largest state led by Republicans and has emerged as one of Trump's most important allies when it comes to testing the limits of executive power. While governors often align with their party's presidents, Abbott's support for Trump's expansion of federal powers is a striking departure from his own historical and ardent defenses of state sovereignty. And constitutional experts say that this sets a risky example that may be difficult to reverse, including one Victoria Nurse, a professor at Georgetown University Law Center, said what he's doing is short-term gains for his political positions and Texas's political positions, but not for Texas as a state moving forward. You might like this president, but you're not necessarily going to like what happens to Texas with the next one. And they go on to give different examples of this, but I think the point is already made. This guy is just another, as people like to say, rhino, not to say that Republican in name only, not to say that being a Republican in the first place is a good thing. But the Republicans, when they see people like him, they're like, oh, you're not a real Republican. You're not a real conservative. It's because those people, I think, haven't quite come to grips with recognizing that the Republicans and the Democrats are both tyrants, and neither of them give a shit about your liberties, about your freedoms, and they're not going to protect you from tyranny. They're going to participate in tyranny, guys. So sitting there and waiting for some Republican governor like Greg Abbott to come save you is just, it's silly. It's an exercise in futility, and it's not going to happen. These people have shown that they are not about freedom. And even Greg Abbott during COVID, you know, he may have done some good things here and there over the years, but during COVID, he also was the one who instituted the statewide mask mandate. And I remember that going back to Texas from Mexico in like July, and it was like, as of July 1st at noon, masks are going to be required everywhere. And people complied, you know, gyms, all sorts of businesses, they complied with his executive orders. There were some some counties in Texas that basically said, like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to participate. And they didn't, and nobody forced it on them. At least Abbott didn't say, send in the troops then, or send in the police to go enforce this state executive order. But still, he's the one that implemented it on the state level. So this guy is not a conservative. He's not a constitutionalist, and he doesn't have principles. That's what it really comes down to, guys. And if you don't have principles, whatever your principles are, I mean, for me, the principles I care about are individual liberty, being rooted in bodily autonomy, self-ownership, non-aggression, these sorts of things. If you don't have your principles, then you're going to be wishy-washy. You're going to be all over the place. You're just like, I like freedom. Okay, well, what does that really mean? You need to define that for yourself. You need to get really deep understanding what that means. And then once you have your first principles, you reflect back to them, and you should make every decision you make a reflection of those principles. Because what's the point of having a principle up here? Hey, I have a principle, I believe in something. But then when it comes to your actual actions and your habits and your lifestyle and your relationships, you don't live them. It's just something that, it's just bullshit. So you can say, I'm a Republican and I believe in constitutional limited government. Oh, except for when my guy wants to do something that's a violation of that. Or I'm a Democrat or I'm progressive and I believe in anti-war, social justice, this and that. Well, except for whenever my people do it, it's okay if they violate those things, because we just got to beat the other side. If you have that kind of mentality, which I think the vast majority of my audience doesn't, and somebody who comes across this who might be in there, hopefully you're getting what I'm saying. If you have that type of mentality, it's because you are stuck in this false left-right paradigm and in this party politics paradigm. This is not team sports, my friends. This is not just trying to get one over on the other guy. This is a fight for the future of humanity, and we need to rise above this false left-right paradigm and realize that both Democrats, Republicans, left, right, whatever country you're in, they work together. Even if they're not all meeting in a back room in agreement on every single issue, which I don't think they are, and even at the lowest level, the local level, the state level, and even maybe some on the federal level, they genuinely do oppose each other. For the most part, when it comes to Zionism, when it comes to war, when it comes to surveillance, when it comes to violating civil liberties, when it comes to supporting that revolving door I described earlier, that industry and back and forth with government, they all participate in it. And so they're not on our team. They are not on our side. And that's why I wanted to highlight that article, because it's just one more example of how so-called conservatives and Republicans and constitutionalists that claim to believe in limited government don't actually believe in it, if that means they're going to support Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has never been a Republican, never been a real conservative constitutionalist. This dude was a Democrat up until the first time he ran for office. But